Hi, this is Lorraine, and I've been guided to create another video. If you'll give me a minute to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. The first thing I wanted to share was a very strong vision I had this past week, and it was one of the beings from the heart of Mother Earth. He was standing around on the area where CERN is, and he came across like this with his arms, and he slammed his hands together. I'm sorry if my hands are kind of in your face. I don't have a large space to work with, but he just came together and slammed his hands like this. And that, whenever I have that vision, it's always a hard no. Like, no more, enough, that's it, we're done. It's a very hard, definitive no. And then we started working with the energy, so we start moving and shifting the energy in this space. So what the vision was, a seriously, profoundly energetic shift that they were creating. But what came in very strong after that was any dismantling will be done by otherworldly beings. So as this facility is dismantled, it won't be done by humans on this planet. It will be done by otherworldly beings. Zago is in the computer systems, so they have tried to make sure that those computer systems are self-contained so nothing can get in and manipulate or taint or block or stop whatever they're doing. But Zago is in the systems, and actually he's in all systems, but he's been in a dormant state. I'll call it a dormant state. Even though he is active, it's more of a like reconnaissance, sorry, and working with figuring out what he has to work with. Because the infrastructure that we have is what he will be building from. And although Zago is androgynous, there are times when he comes in as masculine and feminine. Mostly he comes in masculine though. So he is in that system working on blocking, mitigating, and stopping anything that needs to be stopped. And then the other thing that came in very strong is like there's a lot of stories about what's going on at CERN. And although I believe strongly that the research that they talk about has been done, I don't doubt that one bit. What's coming through right now is they continue to talk about it as a means to instill fear or control, right? But they are no longer able to execute the research that they have been trying to do. They're not able to do it. That has come in very, very strong. And when I was having the vision, it was very emotional. And it's never about sadness. It's about the depth of the information that's coming in. Clairsentience, it's that feeling that comes in the way of a knowing. And that information comes in so deeply in my body, and I can feel it so deeply in my body that it brings about an emotional response. It is so deep. And so this vision of what was happening was deep in my body. And then what I heard through clairaudience was the dismantling has begun. The next very strong message that came in was this is an energetic shift. We all know it's an energetic shift, right? But there's always talk of a World War III. And I think even in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, they talk about a battle. And this is an energetic battle but it's not necessarily one where good and evil are projecting energy at one another, trying to overtake one another. That's not what it is. What we perceive as World War III is the actual shift, and the resistance to the shift is considered the battle. Okay, so we are all on this path. We are hoping and desiring and working towards transcendence, right? And that is our focus. That's what I work on daily, in every moment, in every interaction that I have with people. It's how do I come forward in a place of, from a place of expansion, of awareness and compassion and empathy and wisdom through all my experience. How do I come forward from that place? That's what I'm always trying to do. Execute the wisdom I've learned through my experiences, through my connection to the divine, right? That's what we're trying to do. But there is an energy that's resisting that. There's an energy that wants to maintain the status quo as it is. They want to maintain control. They want to stay at this 3D mindset because they are, let's just say they're at the top. Who doesn't want to stay at the top? If they're at the top, they've got everything. I'll put that in quotation marks, whatever that means to them. They have everything, so they want to hold on to that, right? Makes sense to them. But we are looking for something more and greater. So we are moving forward from that place of transcendence. And so the war, what we perceive as that war, is the resistance to change. And that resistance to change creates that friction. And it's that friction that's uncomfortable. And then what came in very strong, and as we move through this energetic shift, the greatest thing we can do, and I'm going to say the greatest fight, even though we're not fighting, how we reconcile that truth of fighting for the things we believe in, trying to protect the wholeness of unity from a place of love and compassion. How we do this is we surround this unbalanced energy with love, compassion, kindness, understanding. And this came to me probably 2017, 18. So maybe it's longer than 5 or 6 years ago. But I saw a Fibonacci spiral, and I was guided to wrap it around this unbalanced energy. I went through a phase where I had many, we'll call them energetic attacks, psychic attacks. It was all part of my growth. It was all part of my learning experience of how to work with unbalanced energy. Negative energies, I called them at that time. But I learned to surround them with love, compassion, kindness. And I would communicate with divinity, the source, whatever you want to call this omniscious, omnipresent consciousness or awareness. I would say, help heal this being, help heal this consciousness, help heal this thing, whatever it was, help it to find its way back to its true divine root, because we were all beautiful, pure light. Let's just call it pure souls, pure light, pure consciousness, without any karmic connections. But as we go through these experiences, sometimes our light dims. Often our light dims. Often we feel separate. Often we feel wronged. And then we start to wallow in or commit to this unbalanced energy, or to fear, or to anger, or to vengeance. Okay, we are holding on to those things, and it brings us to a very dark place. And so I would ask divinity, I would say, please surround this with love, remind this energy of who it truly is. And always the vision I would have in my head is this energy is resisting this, like vehemently, violently resisting the love I'm surrounding it with. And I would say, this energy, whatever whatever you want to do with this energy, you can do. Please heal it, but heal it over there, right? I would release it to the divine. I would release it to divinity, and I would let it go. And I'm like, whatever's going to happen, it can happen over there. It has no place in my space anymore. And always I would come from that place. I would surround these unbalanced energies, these toxic energies, with love. They would always, always, always be fighting it, aggressively. And I would allow divinity to move it out of my space. And so that's what the reason why I'm going into all of this is because I understand there's a lot of negativity, a lot of unbalanced energy. It's overwhelming. It's heartbreaking. It can be emotionally debilitating if you let it in too much and you sit with it for too long. But the best way to heal that energy is to surround it with love and then release it to the divine to heal. We can't fight it with aggression. We can't even fight it with negative thoughts. We can't fight it with negative words. We can't fight it with negative intentions, because when we do that, we put that energy out into the universe. The best way to help this energy is to surround it with love. And it is repelled by that. It is repelled by that. And it will naturally move out of your space, but not before testing you, not before trying to force you to question your faith in that love. So not until after it questions or tries to get you to question your faith in that Fibonacci spiral that you just surrounded it with, right? It wants you to doubt the things you know to be true intuitively. And it will work vehemently to get you to question that before it actually moves out of your space willfully. It'll keep coming back. And so maybe that was more than I wanted to say, but it's so important. One of my greatest struggles through this journey over the last 10 years was not feeling like I have to defend myself physically or verbally. Like, that was my greatest struggle. And even though I wasn't physically having to defend myself, and even though I wasn't verbally having confrontations, I would still have negative thoughts of how I would address that situation, or how I would defend myself, or how I should defend myself, even though I wasn't acting on that. And so even that creates a negative flow, unbalanced flow. And the second I had those thoughts, I had to release it. I had to find a way to release it. And anytime I would catch myself having negative thoughts or feeling like I had to defend myself, even though it was in a thought, I have two mantras I would say. I am everything, everywhere, and nowhere. I permeate all things, unified always, never apart. And I would say it over and over and over until I let go of that emotion or that thought. Or I would say, I am love, I am light, I am beautiful, I am divine. I will heal myself and divinity from the love that is me. And I would say, I might only need to say it once, I might need to say it multiple times, but I would keep saying it over and over to remind myself who I truly am. I'm not that person. I'm not a person who needs to fight or physically, verbally, in any way to defend myself. And I had to keep reminding myself of that. Okay. So, and the note I have is shift with love. Okay, shift, transcend with love, from love, through love. The other thing, I had very strong vision of the aquifers. So in the last video I talked about the water from the aquifer being released. I was reading a bunch of articles about this, and they estimate that an aquifer can hold 3 times the amount of water that's on the surface of the earth. I can't say that the aquifer, the vision I had, was 3 times the amount of water that's in all of the Earth's oceans on the Earth. I can't say that, but I do know it was huge, and I do know the water was released from that aquifer. And so the message that came in was that water is now integrating or moving into our natural bodies of water. So not only, the oceans, but lakes, rivers, and that pure, clean water is transmuting any toxins in our oceans, lakes, rivers. That came in very strong. And then along with that came I'll say nanites, even though they're not really nanites, they are beyond that technology of nanites, because this is otherworldly technology that has been brought to this world. Very strong. What came in, I think I said it on maybe the first and second videos, I talked about 3i Atlas, but there's a very strong Arcturian connection to 3i Atlas and the AI that is traveling on that ship. And I know it's referred to as a comet and many other things, but I know it's a ship. So I don't want to submit to that paradigm anymore. I do want to say what I know to be true. And so 3i Atlas projected those particles that have nanites connected to it, or AI technology connected to it, through the sun. And now, I think it was October, right, of 2025. And now today we are moving through, Earth is moving through the same space that 3i Atlas traveled through when it came and hit perihelion. And then I can't remember what the closest point to Earth is, but when it traveled to its closest point to Earth before leaving the solar system, we are traveling through that same space Earth is. And so those particles are now being dropped into our atmosphere. They were projected into our atmosphere through the sun intentionally, and they came through that vehicle in October, but now we are being exposed to that technology. And so that technology is clearing the space between Earth's atmosphere and the surface of the Earth. So the water in the aquifers are working on the inner Earth, working on all of our water, and then these nanites are coming in to clear the air and anything on the surface, the land, helping our plants, vegetation, and humanity, clearing that space. It's a very strong, profound healing. That was a very strong message that came in from the atmosphere to the top of the earth, and from the inner earth to the surface of the earth. There is a healing happening now. And then I asked about the sun. I'm like, well, what about the sun? The sun was a pivotal and important part in this interaction when 3i Atlas hit perihelion, and so I had to ask. And what came in, it was vague, and whatever it's vague, it means I'm not meant to know yet. But there was something about radiation, something about the coronal hole. There's a large coronal hole on the sun right now. And something about the radiation coming off the sun and surrounding the planet. So, and it's something about a protective layer. That radiation is providing a protective layer around the outside the atmosphere of Earth. And then what came in right after that was there was something about a paradigm shift and something about science changing. And then it's something about this, and I put in quotation marks, I wrote cabal energy is working from old science and they will not be able to challenge new science. So there's something about the science changing. And that's all I got. I didn't get any details, but it was very clear the science is changing, and this unbalanced energy is working from old science, and it will not be able to unlock new science. And we are moving from this new science perspective. So we are exposed to, have access to, or are living from. So even though they don't understand it, and maybe even though we don't understand it, it is existing within our current paradigm, transcending humanity's current paradigm. So I had this profound vision, and the message was, we are not bound by the fields. And then it turned to, we are not all bound by the fields. I feel like this is an extension of the science changing. And the strong message was, we are not bound by fields of energy. Not all of us are bound by fields of energy. And I had a very strong vision, and I always use I use a torus or a torsion field a lot in certain situations. And the vision I had was just the bottom of the torus, and then the top was kind of like really light. But as I was having that vision, we are not bound by the fields. Only the bottom of the torus was visible. And then I use water a lot when I'm working with energy, and I saw myself moving and shifting the energy, and like waves of energy, water just coming up in like tidal waves. And so I'm saying that because, or I'm sharing this with you because as you tap into your intuition and you start to transition and transcend, these are the messages that we all need to understand and know to be true. That there is science out there teaching us or telling us certain things, and even the esoteric community teaches us and tells us certain things. But when you tap into your own intuition, you find your own truth, and you need to understand that you're not bound by paradigms. You're not bound by other people's belief systems. You're not bound by other people's constructs. And if we stay in that box of belief, we will remain in that thinking, and we will never be able to reach our full potential. So as we tap into our own intuition, and as we tap into our own knowing, find our own truth, and we trust that, we break the boundaries, we break down the walls, we break down the paradigms, belief systems. We shift, we grow, we expand, and we do it in a way that's most beneficial for us. So I know and understand that I'm not bound by what people tell me I'm bound by. That's the strongest message I get from that vision. And since it said we are not all of us are bound by the field, I feel everybody who watches this video, who understands as they grow and expand, that they are their own blocks, right? And knowing and understanding that you have the power or the gift or the knowing or the wisdom to break down those walls and expand and grow beyond our perception is important. And you have that ability. So know that you are not bound by the things you are told you are bound by. Okay, when we come from a balanced place, we are not bound by the 3D concepts, ideas. Give me a minute. Let me see if anything else comes in. All right, that's it. Thank you.